Hi everyone, this is my inquiry activity screencast. Here I have a picture of the materials that I used for the water filtering activity and the dirty water that I started out with. So from reading the Science and Children article, they were talking about how the kids were making connections to Earth as a model, and they were using real life examples as like camo clothing, and that's why animals have to camouflage, and the Velcro coming from birds that attach to our clothes. So I thought that was a really cool thing to make connections, real world connections for our students to kind of get them into how the Earth actually works as a filter. And then watching Dr. Kilpatrick's video, his students were making connections from the Earth layers, and depending on what they look like, maybe that's the function that they would have in the filter. So I kind of did the same thing. So this is my filter here. The first layer I have here, I used the cheesecloth to represent the roots and the trees that would be all tangled within the top layer here. The second layer I have is the topsoil. This is where the sand would be. And I actually wrapped around the bottom of the cup, I put the mesh, because in the topsoil there's still some roots that can grow into the topsoil, just not as many, so they're more loose. Below that is the subsoil, and as you can see here, it's kind of hard to see, but there is the alum in the bottom of that cup there. Then moving down to the fragmented rock, which would be the gravel, and I also sprinkled in some of the charcoal within the gravel. And then the very bottom would just be the bedrock, and that's where the bottom of the layers would be and where the hopefully clean water will end up. So this is my testing, and actually I did it 3 different times. The first time I had that model that I just showed you, and the water went through and it was very dark. It didn't look clean at all, as you can see in the left video here as the water starts to filter through. Then what I did was, in the middle video, I did the same thing, except I added 1 layer here and I put a clean layer of fragmented rock without the charcoal. It still looked dark. It wasn't as dark as the first video. And ultimately, over here in the end, I wanted to see what difference the charcoal would make, and I actually took out the fragmented rock that had the charcoal in it. Now, I know a lot of filters have charcoal in them, like Brita filters and things like that, but I just wanted to see what difference it made, and it actually did make my water very clear at the end then. So here's the results. So this was with the charcoal, and honestly, all of the pieces were out of the water, and it looked quite clear in that sense, except the charcoal did make, obviously, the water look darker. And then this is the results without the charcoal. It's very clear there weren't any floating pieces in the top of it. So looking at the chart that we were provided with, the inquiry continuum, I kind of branched out and found another one that kind of laid out what my thoughts were. So based upon what we were given, what we had to do, where it lies on the inquiry continuum would be more of a guided inquiry approach. So we were provided with the question is, can we make a filter that mimics what the Earth does and make clean water? Okay, so we were given the question, but then we had to come up with a procedure. We were given the materials, given what materials we can use, and we had to come up with how to use them. Whether we used all of them, whether we used some of them, and we weren't really guided with how we could use them or how we had to use them. That was more of an open approach. So altogether, it was a student and teacher directed inquiry lesson.